burgers. Should drivers cherry pick or take all the trips? So I
Yeah,
think this one is pretty straightforward. Yeah. What do you think, Sergio?
I am the president and chairman of the CPU, Cherry Pickers United, always have been. However, after doing some experimenting with Uber, taking 20 in a row, and yesterday with Lyft, even with Lyft now, I will talk a little bit
Yeah.
about strategy if we have time on this topic, but I am more for like I'm not going to call it anting, but I'm just going to say it straight up. When there's no cherries to pick, I can't pick cherries. If
Yeah.
I'm not shown cherries, I can't pick cherries. And if I'm going to keep getting out there and doing base trips, might as well take whatever they give me and then make my 22 bucks before expenses and go home, because then I made something. I'm not
Yeah.
saying, I made something. It's not profitable, definitely not profitable after expenses, but I made something, right? If I had a
Yeah.
goal of 200 bucks for the weekend, I can definitely do that, because then I don't have to do the mental masturbation. Oh, do I do this? Do I take this? Do I pass on this? It doesn't need, that part doesn't need any work, except here's my 200. Did I get it in 10 hours? Did I get it in 4 hours? But
Yeah.
my thing now, my resolution has been now, seriously, if there is no cherries to pick, you just accept it as is, make your money. You fall into a surge zone. Okay, sit tight, then cherry pick a couple times. But you need to have a hybrid strategy these days. So solid cherry picking when there's no cherries to pick doesn't work.
So I think, I mean, I've always been, I mean, literally the whole reason why I started my bike 10 years ago was basically with the idea that if you know what you're doing, if you know where to drive, if you know where to go, you can make more money than the average driver. Because frankly, I think the average driver is kind of stupid. They're kind of lazy, kind of like you said. I mean, again, right? Like driving can be an easy job. If you just sit there and take every job that, or, every job that the company send you, they tell you where to go, when to do it, who you pick up, where you drop off. You don't have to think. And so I think that that's the average, right? So if you want to be above average, you can't do what everyone else is doing. So I guess I would find it hard. I still think that there's a ton of variability, right? Every study we've seen and, that you featured on the channel, wherever it might be, it always says, top 5, 10% earners are earning 2x, 3x, right? And I think you just covered on Show Me the Money Club some data from Lyft where they kind of basically said the same thing, right? That like, hey, there's a ton of variability. And so I guess I don't know. I don't buy it. I think that there's always, maybe the cherries aren't that great for you personally because you've been doing it for so long and you remember that, oh, I used to get paid, during the pandemic, right? We were doing a bunch of posts of you making 60 bucks an hour. And those days are long gone right now,
Yeah.
right? So maybe there's a little bit, you're a little bit jaded. I mean, again, right, there's 6, 7 million drivers out there driving. Obviously, they think the job is better than comparable options, and I still think that that variability exists. I don't see how it could have disappeared overnight. So I guess like I'll kind of defer to you a little bit since you're the one out there driving more, or driving these days, right? But I guess like I feel like there's always cherries to be picked. I don't know.
That's when my left hook comes into play here. I'm challenging you right here for a contest over a weekend or whenever you choose. Do you pick the days? We'll meet at the same spot. We go out, drive for 10 hours, and then we come back with the results. Both apps on. Let's see who's the
And I
winner.
get to cherry pick and you take all the rides, or we do whatever strategy we want.
Absolutely, whatever the way, any way you want to do it, as long as I can get your butt in the car driving and doing some trips, because I think we will break the internet if we do that.
Yeah, I think that could be a good. We'll see. Maybe if we get enough members joining the channel, and I can.
It will break the internet. I'm telling you. In fact, I'm so sure of that that we may not even do another crossfire after that. But if you do beat me though, okay, by cherry picking, and that will be a miracle today. Now,
Well, I mean, I
if things
think
change, search comes back, all these good things happen, then there's a
yeah,
different story. I'm gonna do my hybrid strategy. I'm gonna keep taking it until I see surge, then I do what I need to do. I'm doing my hybrid, you're doing your cherry picking, I'll run laps around you in today's market. 4 years, 3 years
Well,
ago? Nah, no
the
question. Cherry
one,
picking would.
not 3, 4 years ago. I mean, maybe 1 year ago, I think you were doing much better.
Yeah,
1, 2 years ago. I mean, the one thing I will agree with you, and I mean, this is one thing that I like about food delivery. It's pretty dummy proof. You literally just like go to the restaurant, pick up the food, and drop it off. It's busy during lunch, dinner, Sundays, holidays, and when it rains. It's like pretty simple and straightforward, right? Like it's hard to mess this job up, even though some people still do. But I think that same concept, right? Like again, if you have to like go out there and bust your butt and be working all these multiple apps and analyzing every trip, that's
yeah.
like a lot of work. Like I would rather sit back and be on Facebook, or I'd rather, sit back and just take every trip that comes to me, right? So I guess I do agree with you in that, like, hey, you better be getting a premium. If you're going to be doing all that work, you better be making 10% more, 20%, maybe 30%,
Minimum.
or wait, even more, right? I just feel like I hear so many complaints from drivers who are like, oh, it's oversaturated, or like, oh, I can't get any trips. And I'm like, how many hours did you work? A guy just shared his screenshot with me right now, and he was kind of complaining. And, I looked at his screenshots. He drove Monday, Tuesday, a couple hours, and this was Uber Eats. He did Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, didn't drive Friday, didn't drive Saturday. Like, I'm kind of
Yeah.
guessing if I look at the hours, like, hey, did you drive the busiest hours? Lunchtime, dinner time. Did you look at the weather? Like, do you check the weather? Like, I'm here in LA. I see that there's a storm coming in. Actually, it's raining right now. There's a huge storm coming into Northern California. So if I'm doing food delivery, I think like, hey, maybe I should chill this week, and then maybe I'll work double next week because there's going to be more rain, right? Like, I just think that there's a lot of simple strategies, principles that, it's easier just to bitch and complain and sort of say like, oh, I'm not
Definitely.
making any money right
On
now. Or, oh,
the
whenever I ask people for details, once in a while, people kind of prove me wrong, and I'm happy to
yeah.
admit it. But I feel like it's more rare than it's like, oh, I'm not willing to get up early and do early morning,
Oh no.
airport runs and, get some of those good long trips, right? So I guess to
Yeah,
me, like if you've
no,
exhausted
that
all of those
on that
options,
one I
then
agree. On that one I agree with you. Food delivery is something completely different. But
all right.
as far as rideshare is concerned, to me, obviously, knowing your market is going to make a huge difference. But then me saying that a hybrid strategy is going to be applicable in today's market as it is, right? For the last, I don't know, year or so that I've seen, but there's no surge. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Even at bar hours, there's like minimal surge now. Okay. All I'm dealing with is gray clouds. I might as well just accept it. And then look, you can set your threshold. You don't have to go to the Tijuana border. You just kind of go, okay, decline a couple, but most of the time, take it, make your $200, go home. I don't
Yeah.
know how long it's going to take you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair if you also look at like again, right? This is sort of where I would step back one level, right? What time of year are we in right now? January, February, March. Isn't this the slowest time of the year for rideshare,
First quarter
right?
is, yeah.
Look at the macro market. Aren't there a ton of drivers right now?
Yeah.
I mean, companies are announcing layoffs like left and right. What if you've been laid off from a job? Like, what's the first thing you might do? Literally, a guy, one of my friends, kid's parent in my class, is like, oh, I've got a little time in between jobs. Should I go do Uber or DoorDash in my few weeks, right? Like, there's a lot of competition out there right now for drivers, right? So I think looking back, right, like, hey, if you're someone, did you kind of stock up, save those acorns, when it was busy in November and December, right? And think about like, if you've been doing this, like it doesn't, I think you could read our book, you could do our course, you could just watch a few videos. Like you're going to come across these principles that we talk about, right? I just don't like the people who sort of, like waited till the last minute, or, they wait till a Sunday evening to get their bonus. And they're like, oh, Lyft and Uber are screwing me trying to get this bonus Sunday at 9 p.m. at night. Screwed yourself. Now everyone's out there trying to get the bonus, late. You should have
Yeah.
gotten it
Yeah.
early, right?
No,
So I
there's
think
look,
to me, that's
there's still
the
things you can do,
strategy
okay?
part.
But every time I go out now, all right, and I almost like I can't prove it at the moment, but I'll get there shortly. Is that we have something? We're in California, so we have Proposition 22 in California, and I'm pretty sure the algo has lowered every single offer that I get with on base, okay, without incentives. On base, I'm at like $20 at that minimum guarantee that they're offering, plus the mileage. I'm at 22, 23. And that's where all the offers are getting. Like yesterday, I got all these offers, okay, on
Mm-hmm.
Lyft. All right. So I look at it, half hour, $10. I'm like, that's 20 an active hour if I got another one of those right at the end of the other trip, right? So I'm going like, okay, if that's what it is, now I might as well take the 10, because if I pass on the 10, I ain't going to get the same trip at 12. It's just not going to
Yeah.
happen. But if I do fall into a surge, if I, see it, then okay, then I can cherry pick it a little bit here and there. But this is the norm now. This is
Yeah.
if the
Well,
adjustment needs to be made, this is the
yeah,
adjustment that
I
needs.
think that's what's key, right? Like you kind of, if you kind of understand, like if you're doing everything that you can, you understand the numbers and your earnings and your expenses and the market and all that, and you're still not hitting the numbers, and you're kind of coming to me and telling me that, hey, there's no cherries, then it's like, all right, well, in that case, I believe, if you kind of exhausted all of your options, then,
Yeah,
hey, it is what it is. And, if you ask me, I would say, like, you should probably go find something else to do then, go find a different
yeah.
job, right? Like if you've kind
That
of
goes back to the
exhausted
first
all of
topic.
those
Go flip
options.
burgers. There you go. But
Well, yeah, I mean,
so we're gonna, okay, audience, I know you're gonna watch this by the thousands. In the comments, leave us when we should do this contest between me and Harry. Now he's got a Tesla Model Y, he's got an advantage, but I'm gonna make sure he turns off all his Uber Green, all the high-end stuff that he's gonna do on Lyft as well. We're just gonna do X standard comfort. That's all we're gonna do.
X standard
And
comfort.
he's gonna go cherry pick.
Well,
I'm gonna go Ant.
and I think the equalizer is I have to stop the charge. I'll start with a full tank,
Not my
but
problem.
I will have to stop. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of, I'm gonna have a
Yeah,
nicer car than you with the Model Y. I think passengers,
yeah.
well, some passengers like it. It's a little much there in the back seat. But
If
then
they can
when I
open
have
the
to stop the
door.
charge, well, yeah, when I have to stop the charge, that'll be your equalizer for the better tips
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get,
yeah.
since
Oh, well, that's under
people
the
like me
assumption that
more.
you're ahead already. So it's like,
All right, so
uh,